going on, everybody? Welcome to Cocktails in the War Room. I am Mistress Carrie, and this is episode 149. Pardon me while I make slight adjustments. This is episode 149 of Cocktails in the War Room, and welcome to the War Room family. Welcome to anybody that's new. If you have never joined us here in the War Room before, thank you for hanging out with us. Please, in the comments, let us know this is your first show, and let us know where you're watching from so that the family here in the War Room, as they so affectionately call themselves, can welcome you properly. For anybody that doesn't know, my name is Mistress Carrie, and I am going to be your host. You can catch me on the radio every afternoon. You can catch my podcast. I'm the host of the Mistress Carrie podcast. I know, I couldn't think of anything else to name it. You can find me at mistresscarrie.com, and if you are new to the War Room, all you have to do is go to mistresscarrie.com, go to my blog, and if you go all the way to the first blog post, you will find something called the Dictionary. And the Dictionary is a glossary and has all of the terms and inside jokes that we use here in the War Room so that anybody that's new doesn't get left out of the joke. Now, you may be wondering what is going on the couch with you, and that is because for anyone that is new to the War Room, Wednesday, come here. Come and say hi. This is Wednesday, and she is my co-host. She is my partner in crime. She has been riding out the COVID lockdown with me and joins us almost every week here in the War Room. Wednesday, can I move your pug? Can I move the pug cam? Can you back up for me? Back up so you can show everybody your tricks. Sit down. Sit. Good girl. Can I have your paw? Get down. Good girl. Can I have a high five? Yeah. Back up. No, back up. Sit. Good girl. I bribe her to come on the show with us most days with cookies. I'm shameless, but it is what it is. So this is Wednesday, and at Wednesday the Goth Pug is where you can find her on Instagram. But she joins us pretty much every weekday. Patrick wants to know, are you still on the Pike? Yes, I'm on the Pike, 100 FM in Worcester every afternoon from 3 to 7. Wednesday. Good girl. That's where you can find me. You can find me pretty much everywhere. I'm always around. Get down. No, get down. Down. Good girl. No, sit. Back up. I set up a camera for you. The least you could do is be on it. And for anybody that is not new to the War Room, that has been joining me for all 149 episodes, welcome back, War Room family. How are you guys? How are you holding up? I'm going to leave the pug cam on for a while because, well, see, that's the face when she thinks the cookies are gone, which they are. I can't even say the word. They're gone. How are you guys holding up? Before we get into, Heidi says my makeup looks nice. Thanks, Heidi. Before we get into this week's show, wait, hold on. One of the things that Wednesday does, by the way, if you're new to the War Room, is, hey, stop knocking the pillows off the couch. Watch this. She doesn't like the pig. I'll put the pig up here Wednesday. How about that? You want to play with the clam instead? Yeah, see? She loves the clam. But then this. See, she doesn't like the pig. But she likes the clam. Give me that. The other thing I'm going to warn you about is that when Wednesday plays with her toys, it usually makes all of your pets go a little crazy. This is Wednesday's purple clam, by the way. There's a lot of clam jokes get made here in the War Room for anybody that's new. Feeling good. Been seeing some live shows. Finally, says Veronica. Actually, I went to my first big giant mosh pit crammed in like sardine show over the weekend. I added a new shirt to my concert shirt collection, my new Seven Dust shirt, which I'm very excited about. And I saw them at the Palladium over the weekend, actually on September 11th on Saturday night. The show was fantastic. Seven Dust, like a lot of other bands, kind of sealing themselves in the bubble, as they call it. So bands trying to keep to themselves as much as possible with the other bands that they tour with and with their crews, because bands can't afford to have somebody test positive for COVID, and then they have to either have that person come off the road or they have to quarantine the entire band. So the guys from Seven Dust kind of in the bubble, and you could see the barricade push back from the stage a little bit more. Not a lot of people on the stage. The crowd was crazy. There was a great tribute to all of the victims of 9/11. And I got to tell you, if you were there, there's a lot of pictures up online. They did Angel's Son. And I started crying in the middle of the show, which was crazy. I mean, I've always loved that song anyway, but it had very special kind of sentimental meaning that night with the crowd that was packed with first responders. The guys from Seven Dust did this great thing where they gave out free tickets to firefighters, police officers, EMTs. So there were so many first responders in the room that night. And it was pretty special, you know. It was very sentimental, and the show was just awesome. And it was really crazy. You could see throughout the show, if you were there, let me know in the comments how you feel. But you could see that at points throughout the show, LeJean Witherspoon, who's joined us here in the War Room before, was kind of taken aback by the emotion of everything and the love. I mean, the Palladium in Worcester, you know, the guys may as well be from Massachusetts with the amount of times they've played here and how long their relationship goes back to their fans here. And you could tell the crowd was so loud, and the band in between songs, you could just see them kind of looking at each other going, this is crazy. So the show was, it was crazy. Producer Mike was there with me, and he says it was an unforgettable moment when LJ came out with the flag. So somebody had given Seven Dust a flag. It was an American flag, but in the blue rectangle, it had this 9/11 memorial instead of the white stars of the American flag. And he came out with that for the encore, and the place just went crazy. It started chanting USA, and it was just this overwhelming like wave and barrage of emotion. And I didn't realize, I don't know how you guys felt on Saturday, but I was on the air for part of Saturday, and I found myself really not wanting to talk about it. Normally on the anniversary of 9/11, I would go back through a lot of my audio and talk about that day and kind of play back some of the stuff. I found that very hard to do this year. I don't know if, I know it's not because I'm not still upset. I think the exact opposite is true. I found myself more emotional than I've been in years past. And the only thing I could attribute it to was just the emotional roller coaster that all of us have been on for the last year and a half. But it was like I almost couldn't talk about it. I was brought to tears several times throughout the day, brought to tears at the concert that night. It was like my emotions were like on my sleeve that day. Like my heart was not even in my chest. It was like in my hand all day. And what's the light from the shadow from the light? Are you guys talking about this right here? Yeah, it is a shadow. Why is it doing that? Why is it doing that? Why is it doing that? Let me see if I can fix it. The lights are very hot. Is that my own shadow? Why is it? Yeah, now you guys got me all weirded out. Why does this look like this? I don't know why that shadow is there. All I know is if Ian Barrett from Real Rock TV is watching this right now, he's so mad at me for having the shadow on my face. He would be so pissed. I'm moving the pug cam because it's not, of course, as soon as I move the pug cam, the little shit comes back in here. Are you coming back up here? Come on. Are you coming back up here? Stop looking at me like that. Are you coming back up? You want your monkey? Yeah, see? That's all it takes. All right, let me see if I can turn her pug cam back on. Wednesday, I just moved it. There you go. There you go. I'll put the pug cam back on. Wait, what? What's she doing? She's sitting over there where the camera's not. It's the mic. Okay, hold on. Better? Oh, it is the mic. You guys are so smart. All right, how's that? Better? Kind of? Maybe? It's a big mic. Hey. It's not the size, though, just so you know. Yeah, so I don't know what's going on. I should have checked for the freaking shadow today, but I didn't. Let's see. It's the mic. Can't believe it was 20 years ago, says Jared. The reflection moved the two pictures behind her. Oh, yeah. See, there you go. I'm not going to win an Academy Award for Best Cinematography for Cocktails in the War Room. It's not going to happen. I can tell you that next week, there's probably going to be a lot more wrong than a shadow on my face from the microphone. Let's see. I'll have to go and put some Seven Dust songs in my playlist, Jeff. Let me tell you, I have loved Seven Dust since the first time I heard them. And there are so many memories of mine that are attributed to their songs over the years. And I didn't realize how much, like throughout the day on Saturday, I talked myself in and out of going to the show like 4 times. I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to go. I'm not going to be good company. I knew I was meeting producer Mike there. I knew I was meeting some other people there. Mike Shue was meeting me there. And I was like, well, maybe I just won't go. And then finally I was like, no, fuck this. I'm going. I promised the guys I was going to go. I'm going to go. And I didn't realize it until kind of the end of the show, how much I needed to go. Just how much I needed to go do something normal, how much I wanted to be in a room full of rock fans and Seven Dust fans. I screamed the words to every song. The guys from Seven Dust were so sweet, and LJ kept, telling everybody to say hi to me and cheer. And Julie says, are you sure? Am I sure what? I don't know. They played Denial Driven, Angel's Son, Black. I wanted them to play Bitch. I know. I was kind of surprised that they didn't, which was weird. That was like one of the glaring omissions from their set list, and I don't know why. If Carrie sees her shadow on the stream, we get 3 more weeks of summer, says Brito. That's hilarious. I have about 1,000 songs in my phone, says Jeff. I have the same thing. I'm very old school when it comes to that stuff. I have a bunch of music saved on my phone because I don't want to have to be connected to Wi-Fi or be someplace where I have cell service, that if I want to listen to music on my phone, I have a bunch of stuff actually saved on my phone as well. And I have all these different playlists saved. And matter of fact, if you go look for me on Spotify, I've made a bunch of playlists. So not only do I make a corresponding playlist for every episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast, but there's a playlist for St. Patrick's Day, and there's a playlist for the holidays, and there's a playlist that's filled with cover songs. And I love making playlists for stuff like that. Jonathan says, you didn't lose your voice. I didn't, although I did spend a lot of Sunday morning not talking. And it's something that if you listen to last week's episode of the podcast with Miles Kennedy, we actually talked about that. So why don't we get right into it with the podcast recap, since I'm going to end up talking about something that we talked about in the podcast anyway. Last week's episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast featured Miles Kennedy from Alter Bridge and Slash, featuring Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators. And Miles Kennedy also is just a solo artist, not just a solo artist, but is also a solo artist. And he is constantly recording, constantly touring, constantly using his voice, hits unbelievably high notes, which are the first notes that you lose in your voice as you age, which is why people like Robert Plant now, or Rob Halford, people that hit those incredibly high notes, Jeff Tate, they have a hard time hitting those notes later on in their career because those are the first notes that go. The same way as the high-pitched part of your hearing is also what goes first. And Miles and I talked a lot about that, about taking care of your voice, why he doesn't do a lot of interviews on show days because his voice gets really tired. And he and I were talking about that. And if you go back and listen to old audio of me on the radio, my voice is so much higher. And it's because A, it's been used so much, but B, as you get older, your voice does get deeper. And so we were talking about how I talk so much during the week on the radio, on the podcast, that by the time Sunday morning comes around, I just rest my voice. And that's what I do on Sunday mornings now for the most part. And so that's what I did after 7 to Us. I don't even think I said a word until almost noontime. Just because I needed to rest my voice, and it seems to be working. Now, it's really hard for me to be quiet, but I try my best. Julie says this was the best one. I thought it was a great episode. I love Miles so much. He is incredibly open, honest, gracious, down to earth, humble. He is just someone that you can tell just loves what he does and is so passionate about it, and is actually, you can tell when you talk to someone that's like found their passion in life and found their life's purpose, and they're so happy actually doing that. And Miles is one of those people, like he's exactly where he belongs. He's exactly where he should be. And I just think he's an amazing guy. And I'm glad you guys love the episode. Eric says Jeff Tate is in New Bedford playing Empire in its entirety. The tour was just in Worcester. I saw him at Rascals with Mike Shue last week. It was the first night of the tour, so they had a few technical issues with the band. You could tell the sound guy was like pulling his hair out, trying to make it sound good. No pressure. It's just Jeff Tate, by the way, trying to hit all the high notes from Rage to Order, or Rage for Order, I mean, and Empire. But it was the first night of the tour. And anytime you go and see, here's what you should know when you go to see a tour. If you go on the first night, there's going to be technical problems. They're going to be working out the bugs. No matter how much tour rehearsal they did, then they had to tear the rehearsal down, put it in the truck, ship it, and put it back together in the venue for the first time. There's always technical issues on the first night of the tour. The last night of the tour is usually off the rails, and there's definitely going to be practical jokes because that's what they do. And Hailstorm and Evanescence, the last night of their tour is at the DCU Center in December in Worcester, and you can probably expect some off-the-rails craziness. So Jeff Tate definitely had some technical issues. But Jacqueline says, Miles is insanely down to earth. Please tell me the Pike doesn't go into holiday music. Diva, as far as I know, they do not. He reminds me of, with being a workaholic, I think he kind of is. I definitely think Miles is the kind of guy that if he's not doing something, he kind of goes stir crazy. But I don't think that's exclusive to him. I think that the music and entertainment industry as a whole attracts people like that. I'm like that myself. Look at people like Dave Grohl, Slash, Corey Taylor. These guys are like sharks. As soon as they stop moving, they die. They just are constantly doing something. And there's so many people like that in this business. And I think to a certain extent, you have to be like that in order to find any level of success in this kind of business, because it's not a 9-to-5 day job where you get to punch out after 40 hours and have that be it. Although there really aren't that many jobs that are like that anymore anyway. But I definitely think that this business attracts people like that and allows people like that to really focus all of their attention and energy. There's a new issue of Rolling Stone that's coming out that has got a bunch of stuff in it about Dave Grohl. And one of the things he talks about is that he's an insomniac and he only sleeps about 5 hours a night, which is not healthy. It's not good for you. But I think a lot of people in this business are like that. Let's see. Jen says, I love holiday music. Donna says, I'll be at the Hailstorm Evanescence show at the DCU. Mark says he is so humble. Down to my last, got through a lot. Great Alter Bridge song. Down to my last got me through. Yes, now I understand what you're saying. Sorry, it split up your sentence. You also must grab opportunities that arise in short notice. Yeah, it really is one of those industries that you've got to kind of be overly prepared so that you're ready when an opportunity pops up, because it's the kind of business where 1 minute, you could be a guitar tech, and the next minute the guitar player's got a broken hand and you're playing on stage at Metallica at Gillette Stadium. These things just happen. But I just love Miles. I love the fact that he came on the podcast. I love his music. There was a part of the podcast where we were talking about the Alter Bridge music that was on the playlist when I was running the marathon. It's really funny how songs can take you to a place, and I have a running playlist that I was using to train for the marathon, and had kind of structured the playlist in a certain order, kind of figuring out where I would be along the Boston Marathon course a couple years ago, and knowing that I was going to want to hear certain songs at certain times. And also knowing that when I got to that song, I was almost done. Like, I really used the playlist as kind of a motivator. And when those Alter Bridge songs came on the playlist within the last couple miles of the marathon, like, it really did help. And then I took the headphones off and I kind of ran the last mile and a quarter with no headphones on, because I wanted to just be in the moment. Like, you use the music to kind of take your mind off of whatever it is that you're doing. But like the last mile or a mile and a half, mile and a quarter, whatever it was, I wanted to be in the moment. Like, once I got through Kenmore Square, it was like, no, I want to be here. Even though I was miserable and sobbing and hurting, I wanted to be able to hear every scream and hear my own breath and my feet hitting the pavement. And, but yeah, so we had to talk about that in the podcast too. I'm one of the weirdos who starts decorating for Christmas after Halloween, says Jen. Let's not rush through Halloween, shall we? I bring it up because I want to tell you guys who's on the podcast this week. Speaking of Halloween. Ooh, it's a good one. Now, part of the reason, if you're new to the War Room, one of the things that always changes is my concert t-shirts, or my t-shirts here in the War Room. I try to wear a different one every week. There's been 149 episodes. I don't think I've duplicated a t-shirt, which shows you how many t-shirts I actually have. The other thing you can usually tell is based on the glass or the cup that I'm drinking out of, what it is that I'm drinking. And when I have this, you know it's been a day. And it's been a day. Because it's almost 9:00 at night and I'm still drinking coffee. That's how much of a day it's been. It's been a long day. And one of the reasons why it was a little bit longer of a day is I was scheduled to talk to the person that's on the podcast this week, last week. And they actually ended up traveling, and there was some last minute schedule changes. And so we had to push our interview back to today. It's not very often that I record the podcast the day that I put it together and upload it for it to go live at midnight tonight. And today is one of those rare occasions where we literally just recorded this afternoon. But I'm super excited to be able to tell you guys who's on the podcast this week. Speaking of Halloween, John 5 is my guest on the podcast. Now, if you're wondering who John 5 is, he got the name when he was in Marilyn Manson's band, but left Marilyn Manson's band, I believe, like 10 years ago. But the name stuck. He is now Rob Zombie's guitar player. He also collaborated with Rob Zombie, Nikki Sixx, and Tommy Kluftos recently with a band called the LA Rats, who did the cover of I've Been Everywhere off of the Ice Road soundtrack. But he is also a prolific guitar player. And matter of fact, not just the guitar. He plays pretty much everything with strings, ukulele, banjo, all of it. And super excited to have John 5 on the podcast this week. One of the things we talked about was Halloween. And I cannot tell you now. I will wait to hear your reaction next week on the show for episode 150 of the War Room. The Halloween costume that won him first place at school when he was a kid, that his mom dressed him up as, you would never in a million years, if I held a gun to your head and it were life or death, that you would never guess. I am not giving it away. The episode goes live at midnight. I thought I was going to fall out of the chair, and I didn't want to laugh too hard because I didn't want him to think I was judging him. But oh my God, I was dying. John 5 is another guy that is that workaholic type. that is working with a bunch of different projects all the time, collaborating. He's worked with everyone from Steve Perry from Journey to Katie Lang to Avril Lavigne to David Lee Roth to Rob Zombie to Rod Stewart. He has literally worked with everyone. And we talk about that in the episode, about why he likes to work with different artists all the time. And about why he loves to work so much. He is one of those people, kind of like Rick Nielsen from Cheap Trick, that literally has a guitar in their hand all the time. Zakk Wylde is like that. Slash is like that. You heard Miles talk about it in the episode last week, that you would think that a guy like Slash wouldn't have to practice all the time. But the reason why Slash is so good is because he practices all the time. And Miles said in the episode last week, Slash showed him that. He taught him that. It's the same thing with Zakk Wylde. He just constantly has a guitar in his hand. He is constantly playing. Rick Nielsen's the same way. John 5 is the same way. That guitar that's in the photo, he had next to him on the couch, and at one point picked it up to show it to me. He's like, right before I started talking to you, I was sitting right here on the couch playing this guitar. And that's what he does all the time. And I loved talking to him. And one of the things I pointed out in the interview is, if you just saw John 5 with the makeup and the outfit, the crazy light up guitars, if you just saw pictures of him, like, this is a pretty tame picture of John 5. But if you didn't really know a lot about rock music and you just saw a picture of him on stage with Rob Zombie with all the crazy makeup, you might pigeonhole him as not being as accomplished of a player as he actually is. Because I think sometimes the image can overshadow the actual ability. And, you know, when you look at a band like Slipknot, there are some people that might not assume they are the prolific players they are, but they are. And the same thing goes with John 5. He is an amazing musician, who has been playing the guitar since he was a kid and has played it every day since. And I can't give you a hint, Jonathan. I cannot give you a hint about the Halloween costume, but it's in the first, like, I think 10. Yeah, it's like in the first 10 minutes of the episode. And the look on my face, I was like, what? Your mother dressed you up as what? And sent you to school? What? It's amazing. I'm looking him up, says Diva. Yeah, he's got this long trench coat with a big 5 on it, and he's got crazy pancake makeup with like these black lips, and like, he's a scary looking guy. And his band, John 5 and the Creatures, like, that is part of their thing. But I asked him in the episode, have you always loved Halloween? Because I am one of those people that even when I was a little kid, and maybe it's because my birthday is October 1st. So like, when you have a birthday around Halloween, you just kind of, it gets tossed into it. But I love Halloween and Halloween people. I talked to Des Fafara from Devil Driver about it on the podcast early on. He's a Halloween person. There are just Halloween people. And John 5 is one of them. He's even got some of those hairless cats, which are kind of spooky and kind of look like aliens. He's got some of those too. But he was incredibly gracious, so open and honest, and so passionate, but well-spoken. And just wait till you guys hear him talk about Eddie Van Halen. Oh my God. There's no way we were going to talk about guitar playing without Eddie Van Halen coming up, because John 5 says that Eddie Van Halen is the greatest guitar player that's ever lived, and a lot of people agree with him. And he went into detail about not only Eddie as a player, but he kind of analyzed Eddie Van Halen's guitar tone a little bit and talked about why Eddie sounds the way that he sounds versus why John sounds the way that he sounds. And it's something that I love talking to musicians about, especially guitar players. And you can go back and listen. I talked to Miles about it. When I talked to the Guitar Gods episode that had Doc Coyle from Bad Wolves, and all of those guys were kind of analyzing what makes a guitar tone. Nuno Betancourt and I got into it as well. I'm fascinated by it because you might not know anything about the guitar, right? But Slash's guitar sound when you hear it, even though you're not a guitar player yourself, because it just has that thing. And so John and I spent a lot of time talking about guitar tone and talking about Eddie Van Halen's guitar tone. And I'm really happy with this episode. Jonathan wants to know what I'm doing for my birthday. So my birthday is coming up on Friday night, October 1st. It just so happens to be the night that The Many Saints of Newark comes out, which is the Sopranos prequel movie. And I don't know if I've talked about this, but so where I used to live, I had a condo up in Methuen for years. And when I lived in that condo, it was a long time ago. I had only been on the air at AAF for like a year or two when I bought it. And you know how it is when you're young and single and all your friends are young and single. And I used to have Sopranos parties every Sunday night at my house. And it was a giant Italian feast. And people would bring wine and Italian pastries. And I would make chicken parm and make my own sauce. And we would have this giant Italian spread. And all of my friends would come over. All my single guy friends would come over with clean Tupperware that they took home the week before. And we would gorge ourselves on Italian food and have like a traditional Italian Sunday dinner. And then we would watch The Sopranos. And then everybody would help me clean up and they would pack up all of the leftovers. And all of my single guy friends would take all the leftovers and like meal plan for the week. And so I can't tell you how many years I fed all of my single guy friends with all this Italian food from my Sopranos parties. And I must have had over 50 people at my house on the finale, the series finale of The Sopranos. Multiple rooms, televisions, everybody was drinking wine and eating cannolis and the whole thing. And so my birthday falls on the Friday night that The Sopranos prequel comes out. And so I think I am going to have a big, dumb Italian meal and watch it with a bunch of my friends that, used to get together with me when we watched The Sopranos. So that is... that's my plan. Now, Korn and Stained are rescheduled for October 1st at the Xfinity Center because the show got postponed because Jonathan Davis got COVID. And now Monkey has COVID and he's dropped off of some of the shows, but they are continuing on without him right now with a fill-in guitar player because they can't postpone the show. Brianna says, I've never seen a single episode of that show. Brianna, The Sopranos is so good. I love The Sopranos. Now, maybe it's because I grew up working in my grandparents' Sicilian bakery and kind of grew up around all of that. But I love that show so much. And when the final episode happened, I was one of those people that was confused and upset. The longer I've gone since the series finale, the more I think it's brilliant.